Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings and the Bias Plus reports. And this is Ben and Barry on football.
Hello out there. This is Ben Dickerson. I'm your co-host. Great NFL football coming up this week. We had some great games last week, which we're going to kind of go over. For you fantasy football fiends out there, you've got week 13 coming up. And week 13 is the last week of the regular season for most fantasy leagues, meaning your playoff spot will have to be secured for you to go on. Good luck out there.
Oh, wow. We have a significant event date coming up in fantasy, eh? So you guys don't follow through to week 16 and 17 of the regular season.
No, most leagues don't use week 17 because unfortunately, week 17, some teams do not play their starters. And that would be a travesty for you to have had a really good player carry you to the championship game and then he not play.
So your last season is the 13th game of the NFL season, or your last game in your.
The last regular season game is week 13. You have the quarterfinals week 14, semifinals week 15, and the championship game is week 16.
So, okay, so you finish up your regular season. Next week, you have the quarterfinals, right?
Yes.
Where do you get your points? These are your playoffs, but it's still regular season in the NFL.
Right. So you're still playing your regular players that you've been playing.
So your playoffs is determined by the last, what would it be, 13?
3.
7, last 3 games of the regular season.
That is correct.
That's where you get your stats from.
That is correct.
Okay. All right, ladies and germs, we learned something. Ben and Barry on football talking about fantasy. All right. This was a crazy week. And you and I, as a matter of fact, we're recording a little bit later than normal. We decided to wait until after the Pittsburgh Steelers-Ravens game. We can talk about that later in the show, when or if you want to say a couple things since we just finished watching the game, we can holler at it right.
We can jump right into our upcoming games because I have some information that I took down from the Steelers-Ravens game that will relate to their games coming up this weekend.
All right. Well, I do have the Sterling Net Point Power Ranking chart ready. I'm just going to show that very quickly. We'll talk about maybe the top 5, top 10. Is that okay? Got that? Good with it?
Good. Yeah, I'm curious. I want to see it.
Oh, shucks. Here we go.
What do we got? The top 10 or the top 15?
We got the whole shebangsky, but we're going to focus on that top 10 there.
Oh, this is what I want to see right here. You got it right there. Just leave it right there. Top 16.
Top 16. Well, number 16 is Washington, and they're coming in. They're the only negative net point team. And again, ANP stands for average net points. So these are average because of the different numbers of games that have been played. And so and because these are net points, you can have both positive and negative numbers. On your right there, you see all the teams that are still in the negative. They're all still trying to figure it out. Washington is the number 1 in the negative category. Above that, my San Francisco Niners are hanging in there, Benny, with 0.6. And you've got Atlanta, Buffalo, Seattle, Tennessee filling out those 14 through 11. So those are teams that they still got some work to do. Tennessee looked great the other night, but still got some work to do. Let's talk about the top 10. What do you think about them?
Well, I'll say this. I may not have said it last week, but I will say it now that just about everybody in that top 10, let me see. Yeah. Everybody in that top 10, in my opinion, has a shot at making it to at least their conference championship. You thought I was going to say Super Bowl, didn't you?
No, actually, I didn't. I
Championship.
didn't think you was going to say that for the Super Bowl. I would have been surprised if you went that far, but I wasn't quite sure where you were going with that.
No, I think they all have excellent opportunities. Although unfortunately, somebody in that group may not make the playoffs. That's how crazy this thing has been, especially, and I'm not saying this to say that the team I'm talking about is Arizona, but especially because the NFC West is anybody's ball game and the NFC East is anybody's ball game. Even the Niners are not out of it in the NFC West. Anybody there can win it.
Yeah, we're the mirror image, and I say we as a Niner fan, NFC West, the mirror image of the NFC East. And I believe that still every team in the NFC West is in the positive, and we can double check that right here in front of us, because if you go down, Rams, Arizona, Seattle, and San Fran, every
Yes, you're
team
all in there.
are all positives, and every team in the NFC East is in the negative. And if you go over here, we got Dallas, you've got your Giants at 3.5, you got your Philadelphia 3.6. Who am I missing? Oh, Washington, negative 0.2. So every team is in the negative. We're the mirror image. A lot of the opinionated rankings have Kansas City as number one. And after watching tonight's game and having seen Kansas City play Tampa Bay, what do you think about that rankings that the opinion people have versus our net point ranking here?
Well, I think it's a shame that they really prefer to have Kansas City ranked number one over Pittsburgh when Pittsburgh's undefeated and has played just as tough competition as Kansas City has. And Kansas City has a loss to the Raiders and had to scratch and claw to beat the Raiders the other day. So, yeah, Pittsburgh's had some tough game. Well, actually, tonight was probably their toughest game, and that was against the Baltimore Ravens. That's supposed to be their toughest game, and they won. So, they belong where they are as far as our rankings are concerned. As far as I agree with it.
Tonight's game had some curious points in it. One of the things, first and foremost, was the Ravens' ability to defend against Pittsburgh. They played pretty decent defense.
They played really good defense.
Pittsburgh, even early on, deciding to go for it on fourth down rather than kick a field goal. When you're playing a team who's got their two backup quarterbacks in, and you kind of know what to expect from those two backup quarterbacks, they aren't exactly prolific scoring quarterbacks. So to have to go for it, I thought was a little weird. Any points is going to put those guys, behind the eight ball because they struggle. And lastly, I'll say, I like McSorley.
Yes, sir. Penn State, baby.
Penn State came out and threw a touchdown pass when your boy is he RG3 now? Or you back to calling him Bobby Griffin?
Bobby Griffin.
So disrespectful, but came out and got that scoring pass in there. He's a very savvy young guy, and if there's one thing that he has that I like. When you're looking at these rankings, I want to point out Green Bay and Seattle and Tennessee. Now, Green Bay is coming in 6th, right?
Right.
Seattle is 12th. Tennessee is 11th. Green Bay is the number one scoring team in the league. They are scoring 31.7 points per game. Kansas City is right behind them at 31.6. The reason I bring up Green Bay is because we talked about that divergence between the offense and the defense for some of these teams. And so when you look at their defense, Green Bay ranked first in offense is coming in 19th defensively. So just like you were saying, any one of those teams can go to the Super Bowl. I'm just pointing this out because I think that these are very weaknesses that are being hidden by the great offense. Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball is magic. You know what I mean? It is. Same with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson in Seattle coming in third on offense, but coming in 26th defensively. They're improving. I'm seeing some improvement with them defensively, but they got a long way to go to get their defense points wise back up above the halfway point. And then Tennessee coming in at 6th, and their defense coming in at 20th. So I just wanted to point out that those are two teams that have a pretty wide divergence between their offensive production and their defensive production. If their defenses were better, their net points would be way higher. They'd probably be in the top 5, no doubt in my mind. But their defense is why their net points are so low. So that's about it for that, unless you have any last words.
Just to say that some of these teams with prolific offenses that have been able to cover up for some of their defensive deficiency, part of that cover up is you got to remember when you have a dynamic offense, that's partly why your defense actually succeeds from time to time, but it also gives your defense time to get better, which is what a lot of teams have happened over the course of the season. A team with a really great offense and a so-so defense can still win games. And as the season goes on, their defense can get better. They can improve. They can pick up a free agent. Somebody that was hurt can come back healthy. Somebody that had COVID can come back off of it. And things are starting to come into place for some of these teams. It may not move the needle significantly as far as points against is concerned, but it will win ball games. That's what you're going to see with teams like Seattle and Green Bay. They're getting to points in their schedule where you can look and see, like, yeah, their defense isn't very good, but they're going to win this game. Case in point, the Eagles Seahawks game.
Case in point, the Eagles Seahawks game. What's your point?
The point is, if the Eagles were going to get out of this slump they were in, they were playing a defense that should have allowed them to do it. But they stumbled and bumbled and pretty much pissed that game away. It was a winnable game just because the Seahawks defense isn't that good. But the Seahawks defense has improved, so it was good enough on top of the mess that the Eagles offense is to pull out the win.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. If it's okay with you, that wraps up the this portion of the show, the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings. You can go to my Facebook page, Sterling Net Point Power Rankings, and find that full chart. And you can find the Bias Plus reports. The Bias Plus reports we're about to present. I'll quickly again explain. When you look at our net point power rankings, you see that different teams have different net points. If one team is playing, Team A is playing Team B, Team A has a greater number of net points than Team B, then Team A is what we call favored or having the bias. Doesn't mean in a matchup that they'll win, but historically they've been doing better than this team, so we give them the bias. The plus in it is the turnover differential. Turnovers lead to points. So turnovers have value in our formula, and therefore it's called the Bias Plus reports. Okay, there we go. Let's get started with the first one. for the upcoming week 13 of the NFL season. And Benny, the Atlanta Falcons aren't joking anymore. Raheem Morris has this team playing. They just spanked the spank off of the Raiders. And now the Saints are coming in with a backup quarterback who's gotten away pretty well with in the last two games. Bias plus score, however, 1.8 favors those New Orleans Saints. What you got?
Wow, Saints are favored. Yes, as they should be. Big time division matchup. Falcons seem to overnight have improved their defense tremendously, but let's talk about the Saints. So they basically had a laugher last week against Denver, who had to roll out a practice squad wide receiver to play quarterback, and ended up getting smashed 31-3. Taysom Hill was at his wildcat best. He only passed 16 times. He completed 9 of them for 78 yards, and he ran 10 times for 44 yards and also ran for 2 touchdowns. Alvin Kamara was kind of quiet, which hurt some fantasy people, but his backup, Latavius Murray, or his number 2 punch to the 1-2 punch, Latavius Murray got to assert himself with 19 carries and 123 yards, and he did score 2 touchdowns. So it was a big day for Latavius Murray. Anybody who was hurting for a running back and grabbed him on a whim probably got a win. So that's a good thing there in fantasy. The Falcons are also coming off of a blowout win. It was a 43-6 complete drubbing of the Las Vegas Raiders. Did I say Las? Yes, Las Vegas Raiders. Every time I see Raiders or Rams, I start thinking Las and Los.
Yeah.
You started that. You started that.
You have 2 losses and 1 loss.
2 losses and 1 deceased.
and the loss is the masculine version. So that's the Raiders.
Well, Matt Ryan was mediocre. Matt Ryan, the guy's been leading the league in passing yards for quite a bit, was pretty mediocre, and seems to be struggling kind of badly without Julio Jones around. On top of that, Ty Gurley missed the game with a knee injury. He looked bad going in. I was worried for him in this one. And then the Raiders that battled tough against the Chiefs after beating them once and then going toe-to-toe with them again the second time, it looked to me like they had this one in the bag. But they got blindsided by a surprisingly aggressive Falcons defense that torched the Raiders offense with 5 sacks, 4 fumble recoveries, and a pick 6. I'm telling you, I don't know if the Falcons can sustain that kind of defensive pressure, but if they can, they're going to have to be reckoned with. I don't know if they're going to be able to pull that off again against the Saints. I think they kind of caught the Raiders off guard. I think they also caught them on the West Coast to East Coast thing. And I'm going to say that was the case, and I'm going to say this game belongs to the Saints.
The Falcons are 4-7. Second place is the Bucks at 7-5. So they'd have to do some real winning, and the Bucks would have to continue to slip up in order for them to get to that second place spot and maybe slip into a playoff thing. But again, Raheem Morris seems to be getting the job done, man. I ain't mad at him. All right. The Detroit Lions at the Chicago Bears. Bias plus score 3.5 favors the Bears, which means that the Lions have been really playing bad enough to get their coach and GM fired. But we're back with Mitchell Trubisky leading the Bears again. What do you think? 3.5 favors the Bears.
3.5 favors the Bears. Well, the Lions lost to Houston on Thanksgiving Day, 41-25. Matt Stafford tried to hold up his end of the deal. but he's missing his number one wide receiver, Kenny Golladay, and they got an insequential running game. The kid from Philly was injured. Adrian Peterson wasn't able to do anything. They got embarrassed. Their head coach got fired. Their defense is basically invisible. They got nothing. Funny thing is, 41-25 was also the final score of the Bears' loss to Green Bay last week. So much for the Bears. So talk about Trubiskying it up. Although Trubisky was able to throw 3 touchdown passes, two of them were in garbage time. So yeah, he threw 3 touchdown passes, but 2 of them were very late in the game, basically garbage time. No big deal. He only completed 26 of 46 passes. He threw 2 interceptions. He had a fumble that got scooped and scored. Trubisky at his finest. Shame on him. This game is kind of a toss-up. But I will say this. The Bears' defense is far better than the Lions' defense. The Bears' offense is slightly better than the Lions' offense. I'll take the Bears. That's
Okay.
sad. It's sad. But if anybody can screw it up for the Bears, Trubisky can do it. So don't be surprised. But I'm going to go with him.
Trubisky can Trubisky it up. All right. The Colts were favored last week against the Tennessee. No, wait a minute. Wasn't that what was that? Was that the tie? Let me just see here. Colts. Where the Colts at on this thing? Playing. There it is. Tennessee. Indianapolis was favored. Tennessee. As a matter of fact, I have to ask you because I asked the question after watching Henry just run all over those guys, and between Henry and who's the wide receiver that you compared to DK Metcalf now?
That I compared to DK Metcalf?
And physically.
Oh, AJ Brown.
AJ, they had the Colts biting so hard on the run that and that read option near the end, the quarterback basically skipped into the end zone. They bid on that fake so hard. I asked because number 99, Buckner, from the Niners to the Colts was out. And I wondered, really, was that hole in their defensive line, did that really bring their defensive line's proficiency down to the point where they could just be manhandled like that?
No. One guy ain't going to make that kind of difference. Even if he was there, they'd have got pummeled just like they did. The Titans' offensive line is massive and strong and quick. They pull, they trap, one guy doesn't make that kind of difference. Nah.
Well, the Bias Plus favors the Tennessee Titans, the score of 5.9. Who you got?
Okay, well, let's take a look at Cleveland. They defeated Jacksonville last week, 27-25, in a game that was much closer, than it should have been. Baker Mayfield hasn't thrown a TD pass in 3 weeks previous to this game, but he did throw 2 in this game. He was 19-29 for 258 yards. Passes, no turnovers. That was a good thing for Baker Mayfield. One of his touchdown passes went to Jarvis Landry, who hadn't topped 90 yards in a game all season long. For some strange reason, the Jaguars decided to just give the possession receiver all kinds of room to run his routes, to do what he wanted to do, hook up, curl up. He hauled in 8 balls for 143 yards. So he had a big day. On top of that, the rest of the damage was done by Kareem Hunt, 10 carries, 62, and Nick Chubb, 19 carries, 144 and a score. No big deal. How long? And I look up and I go, oh, another horrible game to watch by the Cleveland Browns, and they're freaking 8-3. Jeez, I can't. Crazy. But the Titans, this is what they did. They took their vaunted run game to Indianapolis, whose defense hadn't given up more than 65 yards on the ground to any running back this season. Nobody. Except Derrick Henry. He got 103 on him, but the Colts won the game. That was a couple weeks ago. Well, seemed to me the only change Tennessee had, or the only chance that Tennessee had, was to get a better effort from Ryan Tannehill. So they probably could have won that first game with the 103 yards that Derrick Henry got if Tannehill had played a little bit better. He's got to give them the kind of passing that he was given early in the season. And then as long as Derrick Henry continues to get the kind of volume that he's getting, they should be okay. So what happened in this game was they got both. Henry gashed the Colts front seven for 178 bone-crunching yards on 27 merciless carries. Then Tannehill had an easy day, 13-24, 221, one touchdown, didn't commit any turnovers. Boom, big win. I am going to go with the Titans. Got to. Have no choice.
Well, the Browns are getting back Myles Garrett, right?
Okay.
So he's coming back.
We talking about one guy again. we talking about a one guy difference.
Well, again, these are special one guys. That's the only reason I'm mentioning it. They ain't regular, run of the mill one guy.
I get you, but Derrick Henry is a more special one guy.
That's like, to some degree, you figure if you said Aaron Donald's back, you're like, that's one guy. And it's like, yeah, but he demands a double team. So it's like having two guys. But okay, I'm with you. You think the Titans can handle the Cleveland run game?
Well, I'm not going to say they can handle it, but I think they have a better chance of slowing Chubb down than Cleveland has of slowing Derrick Henry down. And on top of that, like I said, in order for the Titans to have the kind of success that they want to have, and they're going to need to have coming down the stretch, Tannehill has to get back on his game. He seemed to be able to do that. If you have that 1-2 punch of Tannehill in the passing game, throwing the ball to Corey Davis and A.J. Brown, and Derrick Henry continues to do his thing, they're going to be extremely hard to stop. Extremely hard.
Okay. Gotcha. Next up, the Cincinnati Bengals at the Miami Dolphins. Bias plus score 13.6 favors the Dolphins. All right. And I do believe they already said they're going to start Tua.
They did?
Yeah, they mentioned that. And I don't know who's confusing me more, the Miami coach with the quarterback situation or the Eagle coach with the quarterback situation. Nothing like bringing Hurts in for one play. He completes it and you take him right back out. It's like,
yeah, he took more first team snaps in practice this week than he did all season to come in for one stinking play. That's
so, and we already had the questions that arose when Fitzpatrick, was benched for Tua, although he was playing really well. He was on his Fitzmagic bend. Tua came in, looked good. Then Tua seemed to have, start to stumble. And the next thing you know, Fitzpatrick is back in there. Tua had something going on with his hand, I do believe. But it's been stated that he'll be back in the starting position. We'll see how that actually works out. So 13.6 favors the Dolphins. Who does Mr. Dickerson have?
Well, I like the Dolphins too. I like the Dolphins in this game. I feel bad for the Bengals. Joe Burrow's done for the season. And Ryan Finley looked totally lost when he came in relief after Burrow got hurt. So the coach decided to go with Brandon Allen. Now, Brandon Allen was on Cincinnati's practice squad, but he had previously played for the Denver Broncos. He was a backup there, and he did actually start a couple of games. He didn't do real well, but he did actually start a couple of games. But they lost to the Giants, my Giants, 19-17. They just don't have it. Without Burrow, there's games that they could have won if they had Burrow. This might have been one of them, but unfortunately, they're really hurting without him, and their defense is really nothing to write home about. Meanwhile, Miami almost pitched a shutout versus the Jets. I think the score was 24-3. First, I thought they did beat them 24-0, but they got a late field goal. So 24-3. Their defense was solid, as it has been and has been improving slowly over the season. And Ryan Fitzpatrick was pretty solid too. Even though he did get intercepted twice, he threw 3 touchdown passes, one to each of his tight ends, and he targeted Devon. Here's the difference between Fitzpatrick and Tua. He targeted Devontae Parker, the #1 receiver on the Miami Dolphins, and a very, very good receiver, highly ranked among receivers in the NFL right now. He targeted him a bunch of times. I didn't write the number down. I thought I did. But he finished up with 119 yards. Okay? That's a lot of balls he threw his way. You notice some of the better teams usually go pretty heavy to their #1 guy. The Bills go to Stephon. The Vikings, even though Jefferson's having a great year, they still lean on Thielen. You know what I mean? The list goes on and on. So anyway, I don't know that Tua can do that or wants to do that. But Devontae Parker's a problem. And if he's going to continue to win when he gets back in there, he needs to look his way. But I don't think they'll have too much trouble with the Bengals. So I'm taking the Dolphins all the way. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, the Bengals are still working with some backup quarterbacks that we have to look up on Wikipedia to figure out who they are, right?
No, I just told you who he was.
Yeah, well, you know that.
Wikipedia. You don't need Wikipedia. You got me.
Yeah. Well, they might prefer you. Jacksonville Jaguars at the Minnesota Vikings. Bias plus score 7.7 favors the Vikings. Oh man. Well, so you got Minshew. Is he hurt? Did he come back yet?
Minshew has been hurt for the last couple of weeks, but there is rumor that he should be coming back and may come back this week.
All right.
But let me say this. They'll only be a little bit better if he does, in fact, come back. Jake Luton threw 4 interceptions to the Steelers in week 11. So they decided to bring Mike Glennon out last week. I don't even want to talk about it. They're really bad. They actually need Minshew back just to be respectable. That was horrible. But now let's talk about the Vikings. Not necessarily my favorite team to talk about, but definitely my favorite team to talk about when I'm talking to you. So, down 21-10 at the end of the third quarter, Kirk Cousins led his team on 2 scoring drives, the game winner with 46 seconds left in the game, and did it without Adam Thielen. Captain Kirk was 34-45 for a big 307 yards and 3 total touchdowns. Dalvin Cook gained 61 yards on a lightweight 18 carries. No big deal. Kirk Cousins wins the game by himself. Boom. Take the Vikings.
I can't argue with taking the Vikings against the Jaguars, even with Kirk Cousins.
You can't argue with none of that.
So, it is what it is. I will let me see if I can throw some shade Kirk Cousins' way. there was a field goal attempt that had they made it last week, all this Kirk Cousins stuff would be moot. That thing got shanked to one side and gave them life. They were about to go under for real. But Kirk Cousins did a nice job bringing them back. There's no doubt about it. He did. And I looked at his numbers, very respectable. So, okay. Can we move right along from Kirk Cousins?
I'm done.
Then let's talk about the Las Vegas Raiders at the New York Jets. Bias plus score 12.7 favors the Raiders. Jets are pretty much in last place in net points, last place in scoring. Defense, last place, however, is commanded by Dallas.
Oh, gosh. So the Raiders' West Coast to East Coast trip last week to Atlanta was a disaster. Now they have to go West Coast to East Coast again for 1 o'clock game against the Jets. Good thing for them they're playing the Jets. Take the Raiders.
Take the Raiders. Okay, that doesn't require a whole lot of
No, not at all. Not at all.
He's there. We're gonna take the Raiders, and the Raiders better get their act together, man. Shoot, I can see the guys in the Jets locker room saying, "We can do it. They just lost. Look what just happened to them. They can go." All right, this is one of my considerations for intriguing game of the week. When I looked at the schedule, let's see, did I not mention a few of the previous games? Actually, the Tennessee Cleveland game I think is going to be interesting. The other one, hold on a second. Here we go. The Houston Indianapolis game. That's the next one up. The other ones are what they are, no biggie. But in any event, Colts at Texans, bias plus score 7.8 favors the Colts. However, Deshaun Watson's name is starting to get bandied around as MVP with the MVP pack there. Better watch yourself, Colts.
He can't win the MVP with all them losses them cats took. But he's playing
since they changed coaches.
Bro, it's too late.
He's doing a Falcons type revival.
It's way too late for the Texans. Far too late. They're out of it. If they're not mathematically out of it, they're real close to being mathematically out of it. But I'm not gonna bury him yet because I love Deshaun. I love what he's doing. Unfortunately, one of his best receiver, his number one receiver, Will Fuller, got busted for PEDs, so he's done for the season.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
And we don't need to belabor this, but it's my belief. First of all, I can't even remember the last time I heard a guy got banged for PEDs in the NFL. Like, it's been a while. Okay, I think, and I don't for one second believe that PEDs aren't being taken by numerous people on numerous teams. However, I think the system is set up so that guys know when to cycle on, when to cycle off. They kind of know when their tests are coming. If they stay clean all the time, they don't have to worry too much about when a random test is going to come, things of that nature. So they pretty much are cool. For him to have gotten caught seems to me that the story he's putting out there is probably true. He was getting treatment because, he's been banged up a lot. He always gets soft tissue injuries, hamstrings, this, that, and the other. He was getting treatment from a doctor. The doctor prescribed him something or gave him some sort of a treatment. The doctor assured him that what he was using was not on the NFL's banned substance list, when in fact it was. So he, not knowing that he was doing a PED, didn't make any preparations to not get caught doing a PED. Therefore, he got tested and he failed. I think he's telling the truth. It's a shame because he's done. And hopefully he learned a lesson that you got to be extra careful when a doctor is treating you with something that you don't really know anything about. Do some research, bro. That's what they got Google for.
This doctor would be a non-team doctor?
Yeah, it's not the team doctor. It's probably a personal doctor.
See, that's where you get into trouble because the team doctor would probably.
Yeah, if the team doctors don't know anything else, they know what's on the banned substance list. They're not going to be responsible for giving you something that's banned. That's not going to happen. But
so you're going with?
Well, I don't know. Colts took their lumps last week. Titans really thumped on them last week, man. I mean, the strength of the Colts defense was supposed to be their front seven. If they had any weakness at all, it was supposed to be the secondary. Their front seven got slammed, and Tannehill pretty much had his way, probably because the front seven got slammed, but still. Here comes Deshaun Watson. All they're going to do is throw.
Well, but they don't have the line that the Colts have. Funny thing about the Colts is that as bad as they were beaten by Tennessee, they still are higher on the net point chart than Tennessee is. The Colts,
sure they are.
5, Tennessee is 3.5.
Yeah, well, remember I told you.
As that loss was.
Yeah, but remember I told you they've been having their way with other teams all season long. The only team that was able to actually really hurt them with the run game is the Titans. All their other games, they not only held people under 100 yards, they held people under 65 yards. Not nary a running back got more than 65 yards rushing on them in a game. And then the Titans come in and just completely blow them up. He didn't run for like 120, you know what I mean, on 22 carries, and they won by a touchdown. He crushed them. Like 170, he ran the ball like 28 times. That's crazy. Their egos are hurting. I tell you what, I'm going against the bias on this one. I'm taking Deshaun. I'm going with the Titans. I mean the Texans. I'm sorry. I'm going with the Texans.
All right, I see you. Got a little thing going there. I'm going with the Texans. All right, good stuff. Good stuff. Who we got next? Let's see. Ben's going with the Texans. Okay, this is another possible intriguing game for me. Both teams are in my team's division. We're back to another 0.0 bias plus.
Oh, okay, good. Now, wasn't the last one in your division too?
Is 2 weeks in a row, yeah.
Yeah.
And the last one, that was the game. Was that the Rams Seattle game and it went to overtime? I know the game went to overtime because that was the weird part. The bias plus score was 0, and then it was tied at the end of regulation.
Right.
But in any event, LA Rams at the Cardinals. You know, this was when I worked through the numbers here. The Rams net points 4.4, Cardinals net points 4.2. So there's only a 0.2 differential in net points. But the Rams had a negative 0.1 average turnover tied, and Arizona had a plus 0.1 which is a differential of 0.2. Canceling out the net 0.2 and bringing you down to 0.
Wow.
So that's how close these teams are. We talked about that NFC West and how, although my Niners look like they really would struggle to get into the playoffs, anything is still possible. And let me see here. When I look at the division set up here for these teams, I was looking at the division, and I'm trying to remember. I think the Seahawks are in first place, if I'm not mistaken.
At this moment, I believe they are, yes.
Yeah. So second and third place. There you go. Seahawks at 8-3 in first place. Rams 7-4. Cardinals 6-5. So if the Cardinals beat the Rams, Cardinals will be 7-5, and the Rams will be 7-5. We're at 5-6 with what, three some games left. So anybody stumble, we might be able to slip up in there. It's going to be difficult because, again, they're all good teams. But long story short, you get to choose. The bias comes out at 0, no favor. Who do you have?
Okay, so let's look at some real recent history. Last week, Jared Goff was sloppy last week against the Niners. He threw 2 interceptions. He lost a fumble that turned into a scoop and score. They lost the game 23-20. Sloppy play, bad turnovers will get you every time. Kyler Murray wasn't much better. He was throwing checkdowns instead of running. Matter of fact, he didn't even look to run. My guess is his shoulder is still not 100%, although he has thrown what look like really good passes that make you wonder, well, maybe he's okay. I think he's still favoring it. He looks a little gun shy in the pocket. So I don't like that. He's got another week to get some treatment, and hopefully he gets better. I can't remember him taking any real savage hits in that game, but he doesn't quite look the same. However, he could snap out of it this week. We'll see. Personally, I don't think so. I think the Rams are going to take this one. I'm going to go against the bias again and take the Rams.
I saw an interesting breakdown of the Patriots defense on Kyler Murray. And they actually changed their rush tempo to slow it down a little bit to keep him locked in that pocket.
Smart move.
Is short. So if you can sort of cup him on that pocket and get your hands up, it makes it difficult for him. He's got to find his lanes. His height requires it. So I know even in Madden, I've done this. I call it what I call the mush rush.
Mush rush, right. Mm-hmm.
A mush rush. And so the Patriots, being the Patriots, coaching being the coaching, they put together a template for how to kind of contain Kyler Murray. When you're playing the Rams and you got Aaron Donald, I don't know how much mush you get. He normally mushes the offensive line. So, I don't know how that's going to work. But long story short, you've got the Rams. Okay, I got you duly noted.
When it comes to a guy like Kyler Murray, you actually have to make a decision as to what it is that you want to take away from him. You know what I mean? Like some teams you go in, you say, well, the quarterback's not so good. They got a good running back. We're going to load up the box, try to stop the run, make the quarterback beat us throwing the ball. Kyler Murray's like a one-man rushing and passing type person. So they say, okay, fine. Well, must rush, cover up everything, keep him from breaking off long runs, and make him beat us throwing the ball. And he wasn't able to do it.
Wasn't able to do it. All right. Next up on the Ben and Barry Show. Oh, it's your New York Football Giants going all the way out to Seattle. Screw around with those Seahawks. We just talked about the NFC West bias plus 6.9 favors the Seahawks. All right, sir. Here you go.
Well, I tell you, as much as I would like to pick the Giants in this game, and as much as I believe that this is very possibly a Giants victory, or this could very possibly be a Giants victory, I want to so bad. I mean, we don't have Daniel Jones. He pulled a bad hamstring. Or at least they thought it was going to be bad. Now I'm seeing that there's a possibility that he may only miss this one game. We brought out Colt McCoy. I forgot all about Colt McCoy, man. I didn't even know the guy was still around. He comes out, doesn't play half bad. I mean, he finished off the Bengals. So, I'll take it. But the Seahawks had a real balanced attack against the Eagles. They looked good. The defense improved. The front seven is much improved. The back half of that defense is still a little shaky. Thank goodness they were playing the Eagles, but I believe, again, week after week, they get a little better and a little bit better. Their defense will never match the efficiency of their offense, but they've been winning with this defense when it was playing really poorly. So if they play any better, that's a big plus for them. I got to go with the Seahawks. I hope the Giants give them a good game.
When I look at the rankings, the Giants rank 30th offensively, and Seattle ranks 31st defensively. But Seattle ranks 3rd offensively. The Giants are 9th.
Yes, that's why I said that. That's why I said what I said. But that's a long trip out there to the Northwest. If they had Daniel Jones, I would probably go against the bias and take the Giants. But I don't know if Colt McCoy can go in there and pull this thing off. I really don't. I mean, the running game is better, but it's not as strong. I can't complain. How can I complain about against the running game? Saquon's out. So anything Wayne Gallman and Dion Lewis, you take all 5 of them running backs you got, pull the practice squad guys, and just ball them up into one running back. I'll be happy with that. But I need Colt McCoy to play well, and that I can't trust. So I got to go with the Seahawks.
I think you feel about Colt the way I feel about Nick Mullins.
Yeah. That's a good comparison.
About the same. All right. New England, the Patriots at the LA Chargers. Bias plus score 0.3. Very close. Favors the Chargers in this situation. So the Chargers have been losing, but by small margins. They've mounted these great comebacks, or the other team has been mounting these great comebacks, and they've been giving up big leads and losing by a little bit. They're actually doing, a little bit better than the Patriots in terms of that, even though the Patriots just won one. So you're talking about two teams who both are in the negative in terms of net points. They're only 0.3 net points apart. And, the Chargers are ranked 20th and the Patriots are ranked 21st. So there's not much room there between those two. That's a close situation no matter how you look at it. So who do you like in this situation?
Well, excuse me. The Patriots squeaked by Arizona with a real good defense, real good defensive game plan, but basically no passing game except for dump it off to the running backs and Cam taking off and running. Their offense is just so limited. I got to give kudos to Josh McDaniel and Belichick for even being able to put up enough points to win the games that they've won. They just don't have the personnel yet. Here they are, there's a good possibility that the Patriots won't make the playoffs this year. And it's no wonder because they don't have any real threats at the skill positions. The Chargers, on the other hand, are led by Offensive Rookie of the Year candidate Justin Herbert, who I love. I think he's great. I heard a good analogy today. I think it was Colin Cowherd say he's Andrew Luck with a better arm. That's a good compliment. I like that. Unfortunately, his head coach is a bubblehead. I like Anthony Lynn. I really do. Okay, I really do. But he wasted timeouts. He called running plays when he should have been throwing. He called passing plays when he should have been running. He's oh God, he's a mess. He's a mess. If he doesn't throw away games, it's crazy. Like they do have skill position players that can make a difference. And their defense has been, well, I'm not going to say they've been improving. They've been spotty. They look good one week. They look weak the next week. So the Chargers defense is kind of hard to call. The big difference for the Chargers, though, is Austin Eckler is back. He had a really bad hamstring injury that kept him out for a long time, but he's back. And he looked 100%. He had 14 carries for 44 yards. He caught 11 balls. That's a lot, even for a receiver in one game. He caught 11 balls for 85 yards, and he did that against the Buffalo defense. So I'm going to take the Chargers. Hopefully their coach will just put his mask on and just stand there, and maybe they'll be all right.
Going with the bias.
Yes.
Small bias, but a bias nonetheless. This may be the biggest bias of the weekend. 20.3. And we just came off of a 0.3. So for everyone out there, you get to see some of the range in the bias plus scores when a team's playing really well and the other team's not playing really well. But Kansas City Chiefs are favored against the Denver Broncos. Ben, tell me what you're going to do. You got some undercover information on the Broncos and how they're going to be able to.
It's not really undercover information. Drew Lock is supposed to be back, so we won't have to suffer through that that high school quarterback guy there. I shouldn't say that. That wasn't right.
People are giving him kudos for just showing up and giving his best.
Well, yeah, sure. I'll give him that, and I take back the high school thing. He did play college quarterback at Vanderbilt, which is Division I school. They don't win a lot of games. Did I say Vanderbilt? I think it's Vanderbilt.
It's built.
Anyway, yeah. He was a quarterback on a major college football team, so I'll take that back. Before his college career is over, though, he did switch to wide receiver. So I think he saw the handwriting on the wall as far as his opportunity to play NFL football, and he took it. And I have nothing bad to say about that. Let's just say this game's a no-brainer. The Chiefs will win this game. I just got to say these numbers out loud again for anybody who was just amazed at that game they played last week. Patrick Mahomes threw 49 times. You know, they play these teams, and I'm like, you want to see a balanced attack and all that, and then you got Patrick Mahomes. Like, he threw the ball 49 times when they probably didn't have to, but he did it against the Buccaneers. And I've been telling you week after week, the Buccaneers, people keep saying the Buccaneers have a great defense. No, they don't. They have a good run defense, a better than average run defense, but their secondary is young and inexperienced, and they got the crap beat out of them. He threw 49 passes, completed 37 of them for 462 yards, 3 touchdowns. He threw all 3 touchdowns to Tyreek Hill. Oh, God. Tyreek Hill had 13 catches. Again, I just said 11 catches was really great. We give bonus points in fantasy if a receiver or a back catches 10 passes, okay? He caught 13 for 269 yards. That's incredible. It's incredible. You heard of Can't Guard Mike? It's Can't Guard Ty. We got to come up with something new for him. That's crazy. Not only is he possibly, and I don't know this for sure, but not only is he possibly the fastest wide receiver in the NFL right now at this moment, but without a doubt in my mind, he is the quickest. You know who he is? He's Kyler Murray with hands. They run, watch the way they run. They kind of run real similar. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm tripping, man.
No,
That was
I think I can see what you're saying.
except he can run routes. And scary as he has been over the past years, he's getting better as a route runner. Hence, you're able to force feed him the ball like that. Okay? Like I said, Devontae Parker from Miami, Fitzpatrick knows I can force feed this dude the ball because he's such a great route runner, such a great route runner. I know he's going to get open in special schemes and certain things that we know the defense is going to do against us. You know, Tyreek Hill is getting to be the same way now. Him getting better, that's unbelievable, man. That's unbelievable. So yeah, Chiefs, no problem, no brainer.
In the commentary section of the show, I have a video. I want to talk about one particular pass that absolutely blew me away in that particular game. But in addition, when talking about Tyreek, I want to mention I don't know what his vertical is, but it's great because I see him out leap guys that are much taller than him.
Yep.
He's catching the ball at a high point, and he's lifting up like he could be dunking the ball if he really wanted to. He had the one touchdown where he basically did a somersault into the end zone. His landing was a little off, but he played it off real nice. But when you can somersault into the end zone, that means there's nobody near you, nothing that they can do. You're pretty much running into the thing by yourself. So, yeah. And Mahomes, again, throws all of the passes, the short, the intermediate, and the long. So when you start counting up all of those passes, it's a lot of passes. But a lot of them are just smart, short, to here to there, and he really, his arm talent is ridiculous. So Broncos are in a little bit of trouble. Let's talk about the Washington football team. Oh, they might be in a little bit of trouble too. I don't know. At the Pittsburgh Steelers, bias plus score 14.3 favors the Steelers. Washington, another team whose defense gives them hope. They're coming in ranked 7th defensively, only giving up 22 points a game. So, the Steelers are ranked 4th. That was before tonight's game, but in scoring, because they didn't put up 29 points. They're averaging 29.8 points a game. What did they put up today? 21, something like that?
I think it was 21, yeah.
Yeah, somewhere in there. So that average will drop a little bit. But it's the Steelers nonetheless against Washington. Who you have?
No, actually, I think they put up 19.
Okay.
That was why I was saying, if they didn't continue that drive and make the Ravens use up their timeouts and the Ravens got their hands back on the ball again, they could have lost that game, but it would have took a touchdown to do it. And, Baltimore's quarterback situation kind of dictated that wasn't going to happen. But McSorley did throw one, so. But anyway, so
Good.
The Washington football team has some actual strengths, like real team strengths. And they used them nicely to beat Dallas. Very nicely, in fact, because they beat Dallas 41-16. So two teams that look like, everybody in the NFC East sort of kind of looks equal, but in fact, they really are not. And now that they're all getting a chance to play each other that second time around, things are starting to really show up. 41-16, they crushed Dallas. It was a really good and still improving front seven for the Washington team. And it features Chase Young, who is a bona fide first-round pick and getting the job done, and has really helped improve their defense. And they got a pretty good secondary, too. So they had 4 sacks, 1 interception, and a fumble recovery against Dallas. They also have a bell cow running back in rookie Antonio Gibson and a pretty good number 2 back in McKissick, although he didn't do much against Dallas. But Gibson had 20 carries for 115 yards, and he scored 3 touchdowns. It's probably his biggest game of the season. And he's been steady all season long. Again, players on Washington, besides Terry McLaurin, the wide receiver, probably don't get picked too much in fantasy. But if you got Antonio Gibson, you've probably been riding him all season, and that's a good thing. And the other strength is Alex Smith and Terry McLaurin got really great chemistry, okay? That makes the Washington football team kind of scary. So the Steelers, on the other hand, had kind of a tough time with the Ravens tonight. Ravens had really tight pass coverage. They blitzed their front seven quite a bit. They came with a lot of different kind of blitzes. And the Steelers receivers dropped 6 passes. That's not good. Not good at all. Ben wasn't super sharp either. So if there was going to be a game that they could lose, this probably came to about the closest it was going to be up to this point anyway. But they showed some weaknesses. I shouldn't call them weaknesses, I guess. But this is a scarier game than people might think. In fact, I'm going to go out on a limb on this one. I'm going to go against the bias, and I'm going to say the Pittsburgh Steelers get their first loss against the Washington football team.
My.
Dude, you don't really think they're going to go undefeated all season, do you?
Well, anything's possible in the COVID era. Let me mention real quick, I didn't mention that the Denver-Kansas City game was the Sunday night game. And we didn't mention that this Washington-Pittsburgh game is the first part of a doubleheader on Monday night. So that's coming on at 5. And then the next game that we're going to talk about comes on after that, Monday night. And then there's a Tuesday night game. So this week coming up is rather strange. You're going with Washington over Pittsburgh. Okay. This guy is really flexing a little bit here.
Alex Smith, baby.
Alex Smith. Okay. Well, next up, Buffalo Bills are going out to Levi Stadium to play my beloved San Francisco 49ers. Bias plus score of 1.4 favors the Bills. Don't travel to Levi lightly, Mr. Bills.
Mr. Bills.
Mr. Bills.
Oh, man. The Bills.
Ayuk is coming back, too.
Say it again?
Ayuk is coming off of whatever IR he was on.
Oh, you guys continue to get healthy. That's good. You
get healthy.
You look good with a lot of guys back last week. I thought you looked good.
Kittle was talking about trying to get back before that season's over.
Dude, Kittle said he was going to miss one game.
Yeah, well, it hurt a little more than he thought it was going to hurt.
No kidding. Oh,
right.
God. So the Bills' 27-17 win over the Chargers was pretty much gifted to them by the many, many mistakes that the Chargers made on offense and some curious decisions by their coaching staff. But Josh Allen was rushed into countless checkdowns to his backs and short slants over the middle to Stephon Diggs by a pretty tough Chargers defense. Like I said, they're up and down. They've had good games and bad, but they made the long trip to the East Coast, and at least the defense showed up and really balled out. So they did give Josh Allen a lot more trouble than I expected them to. But the Niners came off the bye looking healthy and, well, at least relatively healthy. Everybody's not back yet, but hopefully Ayuk will be back. But they looked extremely inspired. And I must say, when I use the word inspired, sometimes my eyes can affect my mind about inspiration. But if I really think about it, I always get inspired when I see Deebo Samuel and Mostert run the ball. They're just like that when they have the ball in their hands. I love what they bring to that offense. I really do. Them cats are tough to bring down, man. And Mostert, I'm not sure if he was 100% or not. They had Wilson back. They had McKinnon, so they didn't have to run him very much, but he looked pretty good to me, and he'll probably get a lot more carries next week. This is my intriguing game because I really believe that the 49ers are about to go on a run. And I really think that they're going to make that NFC West the tightest division out there. And they will probably have a hand, we'll say, in that division, putting two teams into the playoffs for sure. But that being said, I believe that the Bills will beat them. I really do. I think I like the Bills. I like their passing attack, and I know Richard Sherman is back and all that, but it's the kind of attack that they have and the mixture of their run game, which isn't super dynamic, but when you add Josh Allen's rushing to it, it makes it a little bit better than average. I just think I think they got too many weapons on defense for the 49ers right now with Nick Mullins at quarterback. That's, you're right. I feel the same way about Mullins as I feel about Colt McCoy. And I feel the same way about Colt McCoy and Nick Mullins are the same guy. He just jumps in a jet, flies across the country, and changes his uniform. But he's the same guy. You wish your starter was there. You would call this game a win. But your starter's not there. And you don't think it's going to be a win. I got to go with the Bills.
You mentioned a run for the Niners. After the Bills, they play the Washington football team. They play the Cowboys. Then they have two division games. They play the Cardinals, and then they finish out the season against the Seahawks. So as you can see, if we take the Washington and the Cowboy game,
yep,
flipping the positions in the division will happen in those last 2 weeks.
That's right.
Ooh,
not to mention if the Rams or the Seahawks or the Cardinals, who I'm picking to lose this week, lose their games while the Niners are handling their business against Washington and Dallas. If that happens, if they win those two and those other three teams lose at least one of the next two and possibly two of the next, I don't see that. I have to look at the schedules. But you see what I'm saying? This thing's about to be like jammed.
Yeah. That's what we're saying. I mean, both the NFC East is like that. The NFC West is like that. The mirror images of each other. Okay. That is the second of the Monday night doubleheader. So the great thing about these games, we get to see the whole game, not just the red zone version of the game. Red zone beats a blank big time, but like I said, I like to be able to sit back and watch the game. All right. Rounding out the schedule. We have, let me just make sure I'm looking at the schedule the way I want to look at it here. All right. Rounding out the schedule, the Dallas Cowboys at the Baltimore Ravens. Bias plus score of 18.6 favors the Ravens. All right. Lamar is out. Why now? What's wrong with Lamar?
Lamar has COVID.
So Lamar's a COVID casualty so far.
And he's a somewhat recent COVID casualty. So I have to look. I don't know if he's going to be allowed to come back by the time this game is when? Monday?
Yeah, this game, let me just double check here.
I'm not 100% sure. He may be back for this game.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong week here. Yeah, and also the protocol's a little bit different. If he tests negative like a couple times, then they might shorten his time period. But Baltimore is on Tuesday night, so that makes it a little further out.
Oh, this one's on Tuesday night.
This is on Tuesday night.
Okay,
yeah.
so then I would say the chances of Lamar playing have been increased exponentially. And I would expect him to be playing in this game. But guess what? They could trot McSorley out there. I could care less. After I saw the Cowboys get smoked by Washington last week, and after I saw the job that the Ravens defense did against the undefeated Steelers tonight, there's no way in heck that the Cowboys have any chance of winning this game. Please take the Ravens and be happy with it.
We say, please take the Ravens.
Well, yeah, the Cowboys beat Minnesota and everybody got a little hyped. They got a little excited. And then they go down and play Washington and completely crap the bed. So you think they're going to do something against a real defense? Please. Not going to happen.
Yeah. The probabilities are low there. All right. Let's see. As we wrap up the Bias Plus portion of the show, let me see here. We always have a little something that we want to make sure that we share. Oh, yes. Here it is. Okay, baby. We are talking about last week's Bias Plus Buster of the Week for Week 11. Congratulations to the Falcons. Falcons put the spank on the Raiders. Or should that be Week 12?
Yes, that was actually Week 12.
Week 12. I got to fix that. Okay. Put the spank on the Raiders, beat them by 37 points, which put their Bias Plus Buster score at 40.3, the largest of the weekend. And so congratulations to the Atlanta Falcons. And you mentioned the drama of playing the Raiders, right? That whole coaching thing. Something about Gruden and Raheem Morris. Wasn't there something about when Gruden got fired, Raheem was there, or when the Buccaneers or something like that?
Raheem Morris. No. Yes. I think he took over after Gruden got fired.
Right.
I don't think that was the
media was playing it up. I heard them talk about it. But in any event, the Falcons haven't gotten a lot of big kudos this year. They're playing better under the new coach. And so congratulations to them. All right.
Yeah, they're playing better. But that was tremendous last week. I don't know if they caught the Raiders, that West Coast to East Coast, and Vegas isn't even really on the West Coast. I don't know if the Raiders shot their wad in the Chiefs game. I don't know what happened, but for the Falcons to beat them like that, I need to see the Falcons do that again. No, I'm just saying before I actually believe it. I think it's more that the Raiders just came in way, way flat. They looked horrible.
Yeah.
Really bad.
Well, they had the coach apologizing to the fans, so
right. Yeah.
All righty.
Did we do all the games?
Yep.
I feel like we're missing a game.
You do.
Yeah.
Well, Tampa Bay and Carolina are in the bye. I believe this is the last bye of the season.
Did we talk about the Eagles?
Did we talk about the Eagles?
Yeah, the Eagles got to go to Green Bay.
I'm sure we did. Well, I guess we did not. Maybe I don't remember talking about the Eagles. I don't remember.
I mean, it's
Okay, yeah, the one team, Benny, that we seemed like we skipped over was the Philadelphia Eagles going to Green Bay. Bias Plus score 10.8 favors the Green Bay Packers. Can you make this short and sweet?
I sure can. The Eagles defense put up as much of a fight as they could against the Seahawks, but DK Metcalf just put on a show. Now you got Aaron Rodgers coming to town. You just got sliced up by Russell Wilson, and now doesn't come to town. You got to go to Green Bay and face Aaron Rodgers. It's Quaitons. Take the Packers.
Yeah, if anybody just lights you up is Aaron Rodgers. We have something in the commentary about him also. All right, that wraps up the Bias Plus report for week 13 in the 2020 NFL season. Next up, Ben and Barry on football commentary. All right, Ben. Let's go over to our page and take a quick look at some of the things that have been posted there, and we'll just run through that very quickly. But we've got some hot topics popping up here on the Ben and Barry Facebook page. What'd you think about Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn getting fired in Detroit?
I didn't.
You didn't?
Yeah, you said, what did I think about it? I said, I didn't.
Didn't think about it at all, eh?
No.
Why? Minuscule, not interesting, didn't make a difference, should have been fired.
Matt Patricia's been on the hot seat in Detroit ever since he got there. Okay? It went from hot to lukewarm just because people thought, well, you know what? He's a Belichick disciple. Let's give him some time. Hasn't improved that team a bit, not a bit. He's wasted Matt Stafford's career, what's left of it. Poor guy's thrown for tons of yardage and tons of touchdowns over his career. Has had receivers, and even when he didn't, he made the best of what he had. No, and get out of here with that GM too. They haven't had a running game since Barry Sanders. My goodness. Come on now. Their best runner is Adrian Peterson. He's like 75 years old. This is crazy, man. You know, DeAndre Swift is there now. I hope he doesn't have to waste his career in Detroit. I hope they turn something around, or he gets the heck out of there, or he's going to end up, you know, like Matt Stafford. It's crazy. It's a shame. Detroit's been down for a long time, and they have not tried to build around Stafford. They have not tried to get him a running game. I can't remember the last time anybody said anything positive about the Detroit Lions defense was when Slay was there. And then they traded him to the Eagles. So now what? Forget about it.
All right. The next question up, is it bubble time yet in the NFL? I listened to the commissioner today, and he didn't completely throw it out of the window. I think he's going to try to wait until playoff time.
Absolutely. I think that would be smart.
Yeah. But I think we're about there. My Niners now are probably the closest thing to being in a bubble, because they've moved out of California. They're running their operations now out of Arizona because California shut down all of the games. So they can't play anything in California. Their COVID levels have just gotten ridiculous. And as I always mention, you know, it's about the capacity of the hospitals, and that's what's scaring everybody. So it's getting close to bubble time. I think that they could probably at least maybe do regional bubbles, you know, since we're getting close to the end of the season. But like you said, they'll probably wait until playoffs. Okay.
So tell me this, because you said something that's making me wonder about something. They've moved from their normal facility to a facility in Arizona, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Are the players staying there around that facility? Are they all staying in a hotel
Yeah, I do believe
that's close
that's
to that
why I was saying
facility?
it's kind of like a bubble.
That's kind of like a bubble then, right? And when you said that, this I'm like, are they flying home? Are they close enough to drive? I don't know. You know what I mean? If they're not, if they've got them stationed in a hotel, keeping the team together and moving them from the hotel to the facility, do your thing from the facility back to the hotel restaurant, guys delivering food. Yeah, they've created basically a bubble. Yes.
Now the difference is that they're still going to travel to their games, but the home games are what
Yeah,
they
that's fine. That's
yeah,
fine. Yeah, it
they're-
won't be an NBA bubble. Now, here's the thing. Once the playoffs start, and I guess you have to wait till you start whittling down teams a little bit, but they might do a thing where like baseball did, where they had like 4 bubbles around the country and you put several teams into
right. That's what I was just saying. Regional bubble.
right. Yeah. Now I don't know how that'll work for football though, because you get a lot of you still get some cross country stuff as far as seeding is concerned. So that might be tough, but we'll see. They'll come up with something.
Their positivity rate overall in the NFL is like 1%. It's really still low. So they're getting away with this, and I
Yeah, no
think
thanks to the Ravens. Jeez.
yeah. Well, what can I say? All right. Next up on the list of conversation here. All right. I don't know if you've noticed this. I posted this after watching Aaron Rodgers throw like a 50-yard pass from his own end zone, falling away. And I'm like, wait a minute. Aaron Rodgers has a fadeaway, deep passing shot, deep throw. Remember Michael developed his fadeaway jumper after a while? All that going to the hole was getting a little old. At least he was getting a little old. I actually have the video here of Michael Jordan teaching his jump fadeaway. I'm not going to play it right now, but if you go to Ben and Barry on football, you can check that out. But I'm watching Aaron Rodgers throw some fadeaway shots, and his arm is so amazing that the ball's zipping through the air, even if his feet aren't on the ground. He's like really getting good at this, man.
Occasionally, you will see a quarterback throw off his back foot and throw a really good pass and get a really big completion. And you'll say, wow, what a throw like that. Okay. Aaron Rodgers makes it look commonplace. Let's face it, from Little League on up, they tell the quarterback, do your best not to throw off your back foot. Never unnecessarily throw off your back foot. Stand tall in the pocket. Step into your throw. That's what's taught, okay? This guy chooses at times to fall away and fire a pass, and his accuracy is still there. His velocity is still there. He's special, man. The guy's special.
I'm like a quarterback with a fadeaway passing. I don't even know how to say it. I mean,
Yeah.
I got to come up with a better way to say.
But you can somewhat compare it to a fadeaway jump shot. You can. I mean, the purpose of the fadeaway jump shot is to position the defense where they think they can stop you and then just say, no, you can't.
Yeah, create space.
You know what I mean?
Amazing. It is amazing.
He takes less of a hit falling away like that. That's why guys do it, but don't have success with the pass. Look at Eli. Eli, chuck and duck. I mean, he threw the ball falling away a lot too. And a lot of guys do that because they don't want to take the full impact of the hit that's coming. But he's doing it because he wants to. That's crazy. That's crazy.
All right. Next up, speaking of crazy, let's see if I can make this a little larger. Can you see this?
Yes, I can.
This was to me, of all the great work that he did that night, the most amazing pass, because it was just, I mean, there was no margin for error. The defensive back was right there. The ball just zipped right by him so fast that it didn't make a difference. I mean, I can't even catch up with it, when he throws it. There's the ball. I mean, look how close the defender is. And
Yeah, but you know what they say, bro. If he's even, he's leaving.
well, he's only got a, but I'm just saying the pass is right there. There's no place to even go. He's at the 5-yard line. He's not even leaving. The pass is just amazingly, in Madden, because of the game, you will throw a ball sometimes and it will seemingly go through the body of the defender. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then people get mad. It's like, oh, that is, this is a game because I was there. Blah, blah, blah. Didn't make a difference. It looked Maddenish to me. That ball went right by the defender who was basically right there with him. Made no difference. But in the timing and the fact that Tyreek caught it, it just looked like practice.
Well, the fact that the defender was so close, because Tyreek Hill got him out of his back pedal and got him to turn his back. First of all, the DB gave up the sideline. Okay, fine. If he's a little wide, I'll play him to the inside, try to pin him to the sideline. That gives me an advantage as a D-back. But because he's so fast and he got that guy to turn his hips so quickly and the ball came out so quickly, he never had time to actually look for the ball. If he had time to look for the ball, which is even more amazing about how perfect the pass was, because it was the perfect pass for the perfect situation and for the perfect amount of yards that were needed to score the touchdown. Like you said, they were in the end zone. So when I say leaving, I don't mean he's going to run away from him, okay? Because there was nowhere for him to run. But once he's even, if the ball's coming, if it's slightly overthrown, he's the one that's going to be able to have a chance to go and get it, not the D-back. The guy never even knew the pass was coming. He never got a chance to look. He never even got a chance to react to Tyreek Hill putting his hands up. It was boom, boom, bang, and it was over.
Victimized.
And he got torched. That guy, they was like, I don't know what Ty Bowles is thinking, putting this dude on Tyreek Hill man-to-man all night long. But I would be very angry with him if I was him. Like, dude, what are you doing to me? You trying to ruin my career? I don't get no safety help over the top. This is your scheme to beat these guys? This dude's beating me like a drum.
Yeah.
God, yeah, he might have ruined that dude's career. He was
all over the field. He was everywhere.
Bro, he might have ruined this guy's career. I'm just saying.
Wow.
I'm just saying.
The thing that he does have going, whoever the defender have going for is the fact that it was Tyreek Hill. It wasn't like it was anybody else.
Okay.
Hey, look.
He didn't break up narrow pass. He didn't break up narrow pass. He had no wins in that fight. He didn't score no points.
What was it, 200 some yards in the first quarter or something like that, or the first half?
Yeah. It's crazy. It was record setting.
See, that's the stuff why the opinion people, when they rank the teams, why they're just that looks so crazy that they just.
I can understand that.
Yeah, you can kind of understand it.
I can understand that.
Kind of understand it. So, all right. Well, I don't have anything else. For consumption, we've covered mostly all of the things on the Ben and Barry on football. I did mention and I'll just show it real quick, that there is no Thursday night game this week. So there's no game tomorrow, kicking off the week. But next week there is a Tuesday night game. And not mentioned here is Monday is a double header.
Okay. And okay.
So that's kind of weird for all you fantasy guys. You'll still get your fantasy stuff in, but
no, it can't be any weirder than this week was. Nothing was settled this week until tonight.
Yeah.
Right. So now the waiver wire, which usually goes off Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, where all the people that aren't on teams already become free again, in case you have to drop somebody and pick up a player, that won't happen now until Friday morning, right up against Sunday's games. This is going to throw some.
Even though there's no Thursday night game?
No, it's not because of that. It's because waivers always run 2 days after the final game. So on a normal week, the final game is Monday night. So you have Tuesday, and then Wednesday, guys become free again. So now the final game for week 12 was Wednesday night, which means you have Thursday, and then they become free agents on Friday. It's always 2 days in between, 2 days after the final game of the week.
Okay.
So now the standings won't change until tonight going into tomorrow morning. So if people are like, well, I won this game, but I didn't win that game, and I'm trying to get into the playoffs, and there's only 1 week left, I don't know if I'm in first place or third place. That will all come to fruition tomorrow morning. So when you get up in the morning, grab your phone and go to your website for your fantasy team, you'll see what place you're in, unless it's CBS. CBS doesn't post theirs till 9 o'clock in the morning. But ESPN and Yahoo, their seedings will be out. They come out like 4 o'clock in the morning or something. So you'll know then.
All right.
People are on pins and needles, man. Might be somebody out there that was 6-5 and they're trying to get that last playoff spot.
Sounds familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about my Niners.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
That kind of stuff is happening. All right, that wraps it up for me. Mr. Dickerson, got any final words for the Ben and Barry on Football show and podcast?
Yeah. Go Noles.